When I came to Ireland in 2022, I considered every aspect in my research, be it expenses, job, culture, university, how's the state overall. But there are two factors which I didn't really consider. First was the weather conditions, and the second was the housing crisis, which later on, after paying the fees and then filing my visa, I got to know that the accommodation scene is very crazy here because there's an ongoing accommodation crisis, a housing crisis in Ireland, which has led to inflated renting prices, and getting a place here is very difficult. And I was like, shit, I should have known this before. But anyways, the things have been done, so I started looking for accommodation. And in this video I wanted to share my journey about how I got the accommodation, because this is really something which is very difficult to get here in Ireland. And there is a saying as well, like house hunting is much more difficult than the job hunting here. But anyways, if you're new here, I'm Tanmay, a full-time data analyst and a part-time YouTuber living in Ireland since 2022. And since January this year, 2025, I have been also giving one-on-one calls where if you have any questions about moving abroad, if you're confused if it is the right decision for you, if you are worried about the finances, then I help people get on a Zoom call and then solve their questions one-on-one in every aspect of this whole moving abroad journey. And until now, I have helped 25 plus students who were either planning to move abroad and were confused about the whole dilemma of should they move, is it the right choice, should they get experience first or should they move as a fresher, all that. And then if they were in the process and they were figuring out how to take loan, which is the best bank, what is the best interest rate, how can they work upon it. And then the third, if they are already here in Ireland, then they were struggling with loneliness, maybe finding a job, then I helped with all those aspects. So if you are someone stuck in either of these process during the journey, then check out the link in the description and then you can book a one-on-one call, and I'll be happy to help you out in hopping on a Zoom call. So that's it, and without further ado, let's get started. I had really bad cold since 4 days. I'm recovering right now, so really sorry for the voice. I might be drinking water as well. You know what, I'll just get it quickly. Okay, so one sec. Okay, so before we start how to find an accommodation, let's see what you can expect from an accommodation in Ireland and how is the process overall. So first of all, when you come here, then you probably will be connected with a landlord or you might be connected with friends. So there are two things where you can either sublet or you can get the whole apartment for yourself or the whole house for yourself. So if you are in city like Dublin or Cork or even Galway, in some areas you have apartments like we have in India. But if you are some on the county side, like mostly in Galway, Limerick or any other localities or counties, then you have standalone houses which has 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms depending on the thing. And the houses here usually have less number of bathrooms. I don't know why. So you can, if you are lucky, then you can expect an ensuite, which is basically including the bathroom like shower and everything. But usually it is shared between 3 or 4. So for example, in my case, I'm sharing the washroom with 4 people in the house, and I'm sharing with 4 people the house and everything. So what usually happens is you pay for the room. It's not like, I mean, you can get the whole house, but it's very expensive, roughly around 3,000 to 2,500 per month, euros per month. So it's very expensive, so it's better to get a room. So usually the renting here works on room basis. So it could be double bed, it could be single bed. If it is a single bed, then it is slightly lesser pricing. If it is a double bed, then of course the pricing is a little bit higher. And then you also have if it is shared between 2 people or it's just for yourself. So if you want to cut down on, you know, like rent and everything, then you can share your room with someone else. And of course it could be your friend or something. That is, I mean, highly recommended, because I mean, you don't want to share a room with a stranger. But if there's no choice, then you can just, you know, like meet and then make friends along the way, and then you can stay in a single room, which reduces your rent. So in terms of rent, what you can expect, it is somewhere around 500 to 700 in county side, like I'm talking about Galway. But if you are looking at in terms of Dublin or Cork, then it goes up, because come on, it's the city, so it's like city lifestyle is slightly expensive. Then you can say around, you are talking about 700 plus 700 to 1200 euros per month for a room, which is a decent, you know, double bedroom room. and the rooms here are really small. You can only fit a bedroom, a closet, and that's it. Your walking space is done. I was lucky to get this room where I can set up a studio as well as have the bedroom like bed as well. But I just wanted to clarify all the expectations before in this video, before moving ahead in the video. So this is how it works. Then you meet a landlord, you message them through Daft or brokering websites or through letting companies. So here there are multiple letting companies who list properties, and like brokers kind of. You list the property and then you contact them, and then they show you the property. They get then you are asked for the documentations, and that's it. That's how you get a house. So let's move forward into how and where to find the accommodation, because I think covered pricing and everything. So in terms of finding an accommodation, you can go to daft.ie, rent.ie, there is housingpower.ie. All the links are down in the description. You can feel free to have a look. Now Housing Power asks you for an upfront fee, because what they do is they physically go to the property and do the verification, so that most likely the properties listed on Housing Power are not scammed, because they go to the place and then check it out, like if it is a genuine place, and hence they charge an upfront fee for the whole whole the process and everything, which protects you from scammers. But the other websites which I said, those are free of charge, so you have to create an account, and just the best way is just set up a notification so that whenever a new property is listed, that you are the first one to get notified, and you can straight away apply to the property. To get a reply on these websites is very difficult, because they sell like as a whole unit, like they probably will be selling the whole not selling but renting the whole apartment, the whole house. Hence it will be like 3-bed house for 1500 or 2000 euros depending on the location and everything. And then you can maybe have group of 4 friends or 3 friends, and then you can share the house together. So that's something how it works. But if you are looking for yourself, and that is highly recommended, like look for yourself. Like if you are a group of people, getting a house for a single person becomes really easy, because there is something called subletting, where let's say I am living in this house, we have 4 bedrooms, and someone from my house is leaving, and then I'll just post it at, hey, I have 1 room vacant, and then you can just sublet. So that's how most of the things work here. That's how most of the times you can find an accommodation. So that is more feasible way. And how you get this is by Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups. So if you go on Facebook and search for accommodation in Ireland, accommodation for Indians in Ireland, or Indians in Ireland, there are multiple groups on Facebook. So just join those groups and you'll see postings there. And you will also, after interacting with people, you can also get the WhatsApp groups. So every county usually have multiple WhatsApp group in terms of accommodations and everything. So join those WhatsApp groups, because that's where these, like if there's just one vacancy in the house, these things will be posted in the WhatsApp group. So that's the best way. And it is also like kinda scammer proof, but I won't say fully proof. Still be aware of the scammers. Now one of the other ways to be aware of the scammers is, what they do usually is they will send you the photos and they'll say like, hey, let's sign a contract, you send me the deposit, and you'll get the keys once you're here, because the landlord is maybe traveling or something. That's a scam. That's potentially a scam. Do not pay unless and until you are here, or one of your friends or someone who is already living in Ireland and that person well, has done the viewing, has went and met the person who is doing the viewings or who is the landlord, and then only make the deposit payment. So the way rent and deposit works is, first of all, let's say your rent is 600 euros per month, then you have to pay a deposit of plus 1 month, which is 600, or slightly above like 800 or 900, depends, but mostly it's like 1 month rent extra is considered as a deposit. So initially when you are moving in, you have to pay that month's rent as well as 1 month extra, which is a deposit, which you will eventually get back when you are moving out. Now, as I said, that you might be doing a viewings or something before getting a house. So how that works is, basically there would be a date fixed by the landlord. Like he would have gotten so many queries that, hey, I want to rent your room, because it's again housing crisis, so the demand and supply economics thing, the demand is high but the supply is less. So what they do is usually have, like, let's say they decide a date and a time, so at that time you have to be there, you do the viewing, you see the house, if it is good or bad, like if it suits your vibe and everything. At first I would say you might have a lot of expectations, but I would say just drop those. Having a house is a luxury, rather than worrying about it, because once you are settled down, once you make connections and everything, then you can always have the option to change the house and everything. And I mean, that's how pretty much it works. So once you do the viewing, then if you're okay with the house and everything, then you submit the documents. So documents are usually, they'll ask you for some ID proof. If you're studying in the university, they'll ask maybe the college ID, or like the documentation which proves that you're studying in the university, basic stuff like your passport or your IRP card, whatever. And if the property is registered with RTB, then they will ask you your PPSN. If it is not, like if you're new here and you don't have PPSN, then it's fine, they'll completely understand, and within a month you usually get your PPSN. So once you get it, you can just convey that number to them, and that's it. PPSN is basically PAN card, which we have in India. If you want more information about those documents, I have created a playlist, you can just check them out here, it will be linked. But yeah, that's overall it. And in terms of other documentation, they might also ask you about previous references from the previous landlords. So it can be from India, or it can be, let's say you're staying in a hostel, which I'll tell in a bit. So you can get the references from them, hostels or hotels or someone, like they are fairly easy, like they don't mind giving you a reference that, oh yeah, you were sane, you didn't break anything, you didn't disturb anyone, you paid the bills on time. That's basically what they're looking for. So most of them might ask for a reference, so this is what you can provide in terms of reference. Now the other thing is, when you are looking for accommodation, what I would recommend is, if you are in India, just book something using booking.com or something, Airbnb or BNB. Book something so that you won't be operating in terms of fear, because if you're coming in September intake, that's when the tourists are here, it's the summer season, and most of the accommodations would be taken up by the summer vacation people or the tourists and everything. So hostels, even getting a hostel will be very difficult during that time. So it would be highly recommended, like book it prior, book it for a week, so that that you have something to stay as soon as you land here. And that's what happened with me. I was looking for accommodation for a very long time but couldn't find anything. So what I did was, I booked a hostel which is Kinley's in Air Square in Galway. I booked that for 2 weeks. I was staying there, and once I was here, I was looking for other options as well, like looking for accommodation, talking to people, meeting them and saying, hey, do you have, or do you know someone who is subletting or something like that. So I would recommend that book a hostel to be on a safer side, because on booking.com you can cancel your booking 24 hours before for free of charge. So that's the best way, because you don't want to be like landing here and having nothing or nowhere to go. So that's the best way. Book something and have something ready so that you can stay there, you can put your bags there, go to the university, attend the classes and everything, come home and then do the house hunting basically. Which brings me to the university accommodations. So you have student pad, you have university accommodations. Like if you're studying in University of Galway, we had our own accommodations. So it's basically lottery system. So what I would recommend is, as soon as you get the offer letter, as soon as you get the unconditional offer letter, start applying for these. It's like, I think it's more of a lucky draw thing. So you apply, you join the wait list, and from that they'll pick. So that was the case in University of Galway. For other universities there might be other criteria, like first come first serve, something like that. So just be in the wait list, because it is very helpful if you get a university accommodation, because you are on campus or nearby the campus. So you can just easily commute by walk, or 5 or 10 minutes walk maximum, because the public transport is really great but the weather is really bad. Like it is windy, it is rainy. So if you have to commute, if you're living somewhere far away from the city, then coming from that location to your university would be difficult, because you won't have your own car, or you won't have your any other mode of transport. You have to rely on public transport, and sometimes it can be pretty like it is delayed and everything. So you don't want to miss your lectures or miss your activities. And also it's better because you might be doing part-time, so it's better to be around the city area, so that you can commute to your part-time as well as go to the university without worrying too much about the transportation and stuff. So that's those are the tips I would say. Then other than that, if like as I said, like if you are in Dublin, you have multiple modes of transport, which is you have Lewis, which is basically metro but on street, so it's like tram. They call it Lewis. Then you have public transport like buses. The frequency is really good in Dublin, but if you go to other counties like Galway, the frequency is low, 11:15 or 11:40 or 11:30. Like after 11, only one bus is there, so like around 11:30 is the last bus in the night. So if you are staying away from the city, then you have to make sure that you catch the last bus. So I mean, you can't really party, and the party starts at 10 p.m. So sometimes that's a payoff which you have to do. But if you are nearby the city, when I say nearby, maybe around 2 to 3 kilometers of radius, and it is a walkable distance, it would be a shocker initially, but once you're here, you get used to walking like 4 or 5 kilometers easy every day, 10k steps easy because that's how people here work. And I mean, I don't know, it feels very easy to do it, and usually like 30-40 minutes walk is nothing. So anything away from the city which is like 30-40 minutes walk, it should be fine. You should be good to go. And I think that's it for this video. If you have any other questions regarding accommodation or something, just drop a comment and I'll try to answer that. And I mean, I have shared a lot of things about, you know, things are difficult, getting a job is difficult, getting accommodation even is difficult here in Ireland, but there are also bright sides. So here are some vlogs which I have, you know, curated for you to see. The life is really happy. The initial struggle is really bad, but once you are past that, it gets easier along the way. So I mean, journey is much more fun than the destination. So if you go by that, just watch this vlog here if you fancy that, to see how life in Ireland, or how a day in Ireland or a weekend in Ireland will look like, or even abroad in general. So if you fancy that, just watch it, and see you there. Bye bye.